So as many of you might be aware, recently there was a challenge called the Road to Infinity Challenge by Bad Normals, and I decided to do it, but unfortunately I never really got to the point where I could finish my project on time. There was a lot of stuff going on, and as hard as I tried, I just couldn't get it done on time, unfortunately. So I decided rather than letting the project go to waste, I might just show you guys what I got up to, just go through some of the different blend files that I had because I was working in stages, and you can kind of see my thought process where I went with things. And yeah, you can kind of see this is it right here. It's kind of like this world. Got all these little fish swimming that I made here. I've got a seal that I made and rigged up. You can see there he is floating. Sammy the seal, I called him. And yeah, this might be something that you're interested in. If you're not, definitely check out some of my other content. But this might be something you guys will enjoy. So let's jump in. So with this project, I started as simple as possible. Like everybody else, I started with the provided file. And the initial thing I did was kind of just make the landscape. I thought that was important. I did end up adding like just a quick rough whale model that I had and animating it along a path. And I just wanted to kind of get a feel for some movement in the scene. Like things would change a lot from this point, but I just kind of wanted to get a feel for it, and this was kind of like a nice vibe when I first got started. So this was my first version of this, right? So then after that, I had version 2. Now this is where things started heating up a little bit. So I rearranged my whale a little bit, got it a little bit lower, and at this point I had also added an animated ocean surface to kind of get an idea of the depth of my project here. At this point I had some of my coral models that I had lying around, and I didn't do anything fancy. I'm just duplicating pretty much the same coral over and over. And like I said, the idea here, I was trying to get more of a layout. And at first I was kind of going for a Atlantis kind of under the sea kind of vibes. You can see I have these little stone columns, and I was kind of really just getting a layout. So, you know, going through the scene, I thought it looks okay, but wasn't quite happy with it. So I kept working on it. And this is where I ended up in version 3, which I'm about to show you. So with the third version of this project, as I was going along, I decided to kind of scrap the Atlantis idea and kind of go for more like an underwater kind of tunnel, like a poly pipe that kind of goes under the water, and just kind of approach it like an aquarium, like a world we can kind of go through. Now this kind of presented some challenges that I'll talk about in a little bit with my volumetrics, but at this point I was kind of really liking this idea, and this is what I was going to kind of go with. I still had my whale there. I hadn't added any more creatures at this point, and I was really happy with the way this was going. So it's going to start getting a lot more interesting at this point. So at version 4, I had kind of added some more little details here and kind of adjusted my scene a little bit more. And I also added in this boat, and I started adding these kind of struts that were holding up the structure like this. So at this point, I was pretty confident about the layout of the environment at this point, and that's when I started moving on to stage 5, like the 5th version. And then with my 5th version, I really got the coral layout more established. At this point, I started adding in a whole bunch of corals, really kind of getting that kind of like really dense, rich environment look with this. I really wanted to make it feel like this world was really lived in. And then this is where I got to version 6. This is where I started adding in the creatures, as you can see here. So I started with these stingrays, and all these were models that I had lying around. I kind of animated them and had them swimming along a curve. And this is where I really started enjoying this. And I also added in a little baby whale under the mom, which I thought would kind of be a cool idea. And at this point, it was just really starting to come together. There's something about the stingrays that just looked really majestic, and I was really liking this vibe. So I was originally only going to have one of these stingrays, and then I decided, well, I'll make a few of them, and they just worked out really well. Added a lot of life to the scene. So from here, let's go now to the 7th iteration. And now you can see things are getting really crazy. So now I have schools of fish swimming around here. I have stingrays. I've done a better animation at this point with my whales. I made some better models, as you can see here, of the whales. I added some rigging to the whales as well. Before, they were just simply following a curve. I was kind of animating their fins here. And I also added in this little guy here, which was a seal. I also started working on an octopus that I animated, but I never ended up getting to the point where I actually added it into the scene. But you can kind of see here, this little guy is kind of floating here looking at you as you come past. So I was really enjoying kind of getting this whole thing together. So you can see where my thought process is going here, just kind of really building a world here where everything feels alive and kind of building a layer upon a layer. So then I ended up going to version 8, and this is where I kind of ran into the end of my journey with this. I really couldn't go any further, I had a lot of things going on. And at this point, this is as far as I got. Keep in mind, as I was doing this, I was also working on lighting materials, and I'll show you guys that in a little second. But you can see here at this point, this is as far as I went. I did a lot more animation with my seal. You can see here, he looks a lot more lively now. I added some nice rigging. And yeah, this is where I was at. I added a few more fish swimming this direction. So what I'm gonna do now, again, I'm just gonna show you some different renders, some different shots from this project and how they look like, and hopefully you guys enjoy. So here are some rendered shots. So I'll show you shot 1. And this is kind of like me testing the volumetrics and lighting and building on it. So you can see as I'm going on, I was kind of experimenting a little bit. The glass wasn't looking very good. I had a lot of noise, so I was trying to optimize my render settings as well. So I'm going through here now. You guys can kind of see some of the different renders. And as I'm going, you can see it's getting a little bit better and better. I was really trying to get that nice volumetric lighting. There you can see the boat is now in the scene. And then over here, I now started rendering with the little baby whale in the shot as well. I started adding kind of these little tiles to the inside of the tunnel. And yeah, working a little bit more on the glass, trying to optimize the rendering. And then here you can see is a shot with the stingray. So this is where it started looking really beautiful. I really started enjoying it at this point, and I felt like this could really be something cool at this point. And yeah, and then you can see here are a few more rendered shots. I'll go nice and slow so you guys can see. And that's about where I got to. So yeah, it's a shame I never really got to finish this the way I wanted to. But it's unfortunately just how things worked out. So I guess what I'll do now is quickly show you guys some of the other things I have here in the scene. So I broke it up into some simple categories here. I had the sea life, which I could easily kind of turn on and off in the scene. I had the corals and plants, and then I had my props. I also had the environment, and inside of the environment, that's where I had my ocean. So I had here an ocean volume, and it's kind of like just this cube that I set up that I created some volume in. So when I had my lights shining through here of a Voronoi texture, I could have this kind of nice caustic looking lighting beams kind of coming down through the water. The only downside is it was going through the glass, and there'd be a different kind of atmospheric reaction inside of the glass here because obviously it is air. So what I ended up having to do is I had to do kind of like a Boolean operation where it was kind of open here. So this is the challenge I was talking about earlier in the video that I ran into with the polypipe. This is kind of how I addressed it. You guys can kind of see how I approach some of these challenges here. And I'll quickly see if I can quickly go and just go into rendered view. Yeah, and you guys can see this is a very hungry scene, very noisy, very render intensive. But you can see here, this is it. And it was looking really good. I was really happy with the way this was working out. There's some nice beams of light coming through here. I can see the little bright colors of the fish. But yeah, this is how I approached my scene. Everything was nice and organized. I had these lights here and they're kind of beaming down. And I was using a texture actually, a Voronoi texture to kind of fake the caustic lighting with these lights. But you can see the scene is a whole bunch of stuff going on. And yeah, like I said, I would have loved to have finished it. I think some of these little things were quite nice, like especially these cute little fishies. Some of the simpler things were the things I liked the most. I'll quickly show you the fish. They were just these little fish that I modeled, really low poly. And I just projected a image of a blue tang onto them. So very simple stuff. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this little breakdown. Maybe there's somebody out there who got something from this, who enjoyed it, had some fun with it. But you know, that's where I'm going to leave it at this point. You know, I hope you guys enjoy the projects you're working on, and check out some of my other content. I have a lot of tutorials that cover animation and 3D graphics and stuff. And feel free to sub if this is something that you like as well. So I'll see you guys next time, and thank you for watching.